Straight ahead, more details on the agreements between the government and Cable and Wireless.
Coming up in the Bahamas tonight, BCPOU executives say that deal with Cable and Wireless is not the deal they wanted.
And the opposition calling the new BTC agreement a national embarrassment. The Bahamas Tonight begins now.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This portion of the news brought to you by BTC Every Day.
It's being called the best obtainable deal for the Bahamian people given the circumstances. Good evening, I'm Andrew Knowles.
I'm Kish Latterly. Thanks for joining us. Well, those were the words of Prime Minister Perry Christie before the agreement between Cable and Wireless and the government was signed off on, placing 2% of the shares that Cable and Wireless once held into a new BTC Trust Foundation.
Clint Watson tonight breaks down the details of the agreement revealed during yesterday's public announcement.
We will not have paid and will not have to pay for the reacquired shares in any form or fashion. So in financial terms, this is a win-win for the government and people of the Bahamas.
Prime Minister Perry Christie notes the historic agreement will return majority economic interest with the Bahamian people, and that means the country will benefit from the newly created BTC Trust Foundation. Just under 2% of the shares will be transferred to the foundation. It's projected that this foundation will receive around 7 figures annually, which will not go to the government's consolidated fund, but will be used for telecommunications expansion, sports, and the fight against crime. Cable and Wireless, although holding an equal 49% with the government, will still slightly hold more shares.
Though the shares that are being reacquired to be held upon trust for the Bahamian people will carry the entitlement to all of the economic rights, they will be non-voting shares. This means that the transfer of the shares will not involve any change in the existing arrangements under which executive control and management will continue to rest with CWC.
Under the agreement, BTC will collaborate with the Broadcasting Corporation to advance technology and enhance ZNS's performance. Since taking office in the new year, Chairman of Cable and Wireless Communications, Phil Bentley, says he's given priority to this deal because of its importance for the Bahamian people. In light of growing concerns of foreign management, he made a commitment to ensure at the highest level there is local participation.
Plan to appoint a senior Bahamian policy advisor, a Bahamian citizen, to assist myself and the board in ensuring the company is managed to the good interests of the Bahamian people. And Cable and Wireless would not be doing this deal if we did not feel we had that trust and we had that mutual understanding that we can invest in future now in this country with confidence.
Chairman of Government's negotiating team, Franklin Wilson, says he believes the best model has been created, one that is majority owned by the Bahamian people but operated by the private sector. He says they've now developed a great level of trust for Cable and Wireless.
When this exercise started, there was a lot of talk and rumors about possible impropriety on the part of Cable and Wireless or whatever the case it might be. I want the world to know that obviously our committee investigated all those rumors. We heard what you heard. We found absolutely no evidence of impropriety with respect to the conduct of Cable and Wireless in these matters. And when I, in the media from time to time, spoke about the transaction itself having been a horrendously unwise transaction, nothing in that was intended to implicate Cable and Wireless as an organization. I put that on the record.
People in the press are looking for winners and losers, but life isn't always like that, and sometimes you get the right deal. And I think you can see from the spirit of today's occasion that there is real respect and trust to make this company BTC the real success it needs to be.
Now, the liberalization of the industry will continue on schedule, and BTC's monopoly will not be extended. Now, all of this, of course, will be concretized once these documents are tabled in the House of Assembly. Clint Watson, ZNS Network News.
The deal, although described as cordial and respectful, had its high and low moments. Member of the government's negotiating team, Paul McWeeny, admitted that the deal is mainly a financial benefit. He also addressed concerns that the government still won't have control of the board or operations of BTC.
There will be some who will be disappointed that perhaps it didn't result in any change of the executive management, but I think if one consults the party's platform, there was never an undertaking to oust Cable and Wireless from management. That was never the intention. So I think it's, as the Prime Minister said, the best deal that was obtainable in the circumstances. It's not a perfect deal, it's not a perfect world. But I think it's a deal that we feel satisfied with, particularly because it comes at no cost. You remember there were stories in certain sections of the media speculating that this was going to bankrupt the Treasury and it's going to cost $50, $60, $80 million. And in fact, we've ended up with majority economic ownership at no cost. And the proceeds from the additional 2% will be put to very good use, as I said.
Meanwhile, the new BTC deal isn't sitting well with executives of the Bahamas Communications and Public Officers Union, who represent the majority of BTC employees. During a press conference today, Union President Bernard Evans told reporters that they'd hoped for the government to get a whole lot more out of the deal. Our Janaea Noel Ferguson has more.
We are not pleased.
Disappointed and let down is how executives of the BCPOU feel after Wednesday's BTC shareholder announcement. Union President Bernard Evans believes the new deal struck by the government with Cable and Wireless is not what they expected or wanted.
This closes a chapter. Our hope for the government having some say on the board have been dashed. What we wanted was the government to have more teeth, more say. While Cable and Wireless can maintain the management control part of it, that was fine for us, but we thought the government would have more control on the board.
Evans also took issue with the establishment of a trust fund where 2% of profit is expected to be used for community development.
Well, there is no real win. These were monies that I believe was earmarked anyways for cultural events. And so the trusts, I don't know, but it doesn't change what we wanted.
Evans also expressed his concern about an underfunded pension fund and the fact that at Cable and Wireless companies across the Caribbean, a mass staff reduction is taking place.
What we really wanted was some guarantees that what is happening in the Caribbean as relates to Lyme and the reduction of headcount will not be presented here in the Bahamas. He told us that that was something he would have to discuss with Mr. Houston. That's why we were hopeful that the government will have some kind of intervening power to say, well, no. Right now, the rate of unemployment is skyrocketing. We need to find a way to stop it. BTC is not purging, it's not suffering, it's not hemorrhaging right now, even though we're facing competition down the road. So we don't see the need for you to put these people out of work.
He hopes to go after some $30 million owed to the union's pension fund before a competition is introduced.
We're going to try and get our monies into the fund prior to the first handset is issued by a competitor. And so it's our mandate before we sign a contract. We don't know whose responsibility it is, whether it's the current government's responsibility to make sure the money's in it, or the combination of BTC and the government. But somehow we're going to make sure it's in there.
But for now, the recent announcement brings this battle to an end. Janaea Noel Ferguson, ZNS Network News.
Well, a new collaboration between the Bahamas Telecommunications Company and the Broadcasting Corporation of the Bahamas was also revealed Wednesday afternoon that is intended to improve technology. BCPOU President Bernard Evans sees this as a plus for the financially strapped broadcaster and hopes that more benefits can be worked out.
We hopeful like 27th of this month to begin negotiations at ZNS. The previous administration had cut ZNS subvention, as you know, by some $3 million. So you're grossly underfunded. So any assistance that can come to ZNS would be a plus. So that was good news to hear. But as to how it would impact ZNS, we can't really respond to that as yet.
Well, it's no secret. Both the Bahamas Communications and Public Officers Union and the Management Union at BTC has had contentious relationships with Cable and Wireless, to say the least. The BCPOU has gone on record saying that Cable and Wireless is bad for the Bahamas. In fact, their regional counterparts have warned against CWC. But CWC's newly appointed chairman, Phil Bentley, says he has a different view regarding unions and hopes to change any prior perception of his company.
I came from British Gas in the UK. I was the chief executive for 7 years, and we work very closely with our union partners. And I say that deliberately because they are partners. I was in here in the Bahamas last week. I sat down with both of our union representatives, and we are working on problems together, from looking at it and how do we find solutions to business problems. And I'm absolutely confident we can work with the unions because that's the only way this company will prosper, by working in partnership.
Opposition Free National Movement leader Dr. Hubert Minnis is calling the government's deal with Cable and Wireless nothing short of a deception, claiming the government has not kept its election campaign promise to regain the majority shares in BTC.
Going as far as to call the deal nothing short of a national embarrassment, Dr. Minnis indicated at a press conference this afternoon at the party's headquarters that Prime Minister Perry Christie attempted yesterday to create the illusion that he delivered a new deal for the Bahamas telecommunications company.
There has been no change in ownership and no transfer of shares to the Bahamian people. The Prime Minister sheepishly announced that he has struck a deal to regain majority economic interest in BTC, not the majority of directors on the board, not the majority of control of management. This is nothing less than a shameful and cynical betrayal of his campaign promise to the Bahamian people.
Now, some time ago, Dr. Minnis stated that the Progressive Liberal Party indicated in the Senate that Cable and Wireless had financially raped the Bahamas. Here's how Dr. Minnis responded to those assertions.
If the FNM made a bad deal, Christie has now made an even worse deal. Now, for the PLP, there has been a change of heart. The Cable and Wireless are now trustworthy. What they did not admit was that the FNM got it right in the first place. Their so-called New Deal is nothing less than full confirmation of the integrity of the FNM's position.
Well, Progressive Liberal Party Chairman Bradley Roberts has responded to the Free National Movement's criticism of the BTC deal. Mr. Roberts told a press conference today that the PLP welcomes and supports this announcement and congratulates Prime Minister Christie for his vision, strength, tenacity and focus. Speaking to critics of the deal who were anticipating the government coming out of the agreement with a majority share, Mr. Roberts had this to say.
I said in the opening what the government's commitment was under the Charter of Governance, and it was to seek to get what it got. Never sought to have the majority on the board or the management of the company. The next phase of the expansion of competition is another company is going to come on the scene. But the government can't have interest in that one as well too, or control in that. The government is in fact moving away from having control of all of these sector organizations, as it will do eventually with BEC, as it will do with the Water and Sewers Corporation in the privatization process.
Our cameras took to the streets today to get your reaction on the new deal between the government and Cable and Wireless Communications. Here's what you had to say.
The government got 2% back to give us 51%, but we don't really have control of the board. So what was the real purpose about getting the 2% back?
The controlling shares, who really owns it? Seems like the government only got 49%. And Cable and Wireless has 49%.
For what? what does this profit the Bahamian people? That's the only thing I would say in the matter.
It is an art of deception. That's like telling somebody that I am at the airport and really I'm in my own backyard. Because what I think about Perry Christie in pronouncing that, you know, he's good at illustrious, superlative, grandiloquent articulation, which doesn't even mount to a hill of beans.
It's a bad deal. They should not have done it, because I feel that in the Bahamas we should own the majority of stocks.
I need to see it
okay.
first before I could make any comments on it. I need to see what they're going to do first, because they keep promising and promising and ain't nothing happening.
Still ahead tonight, the Bahamas should be tax compliant with the U.S. by year's end.
Coming up later in sports, basketball players remember one of their fallen heroes, point guard Audrey Martin. You're watching The Bahamas Tonight.
This portion of the news is brought to you by Shell Helix Ultra. Performance you can see.